You keep waking up more exhausted than when you went to sleep. You pray, but it feels hollow. You misplace things that were right in front of you. People suddenly start disliking you for no reason. And deep down, something feels wrong. But no one believes you, not even yourself. You tell yourself it's just stress, maybe burnout, maybe bad luck. But what if it's not? What if the reason you feel stuck, miserable, and confused is because someone did something? And what if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already gave you everything you need to fight it, but you never learned how? This isn't paranoia. This is real. And if you ignore the signs, Sihr doesn't just touch your life, it rewires it completely. So if you're tired of wondering why your life feels under attack, stay with me, because these 5 truths might explain why Sihr hasn't destroyed you yet. Truth number 1. Sihr needs a weakness to enter. You keep waking up more tired than you were the night before. You pray, but it feels empty. Your body moves, your mind runs, but inside something feels broken, like static between your soul and your life. At first, you told yourself it's just stress, bad sleep, maybe you're overthinking. But it stays. Days turn to weeks, and now you're not so sure. You burned incense. You stopped watching certain shows. You even left Ruqyah playing all night. But the heaviness didn't leave. The anger, the mood swings, the sudden fights in your home, that sense of being watched, the same dark dream repeating over and over. Here's what nobody tells you. Sihr doesn't affect everyone. It can't. Magic in Islam isn't like in movies. It's not unlimited, not unstoppable. The Qur'an is clear. They could not harm anyone except by Allah's permission. Surah Al-Baqarah 2102. That means even the darkest spell in the world can't touch you unless there's a way in. And I know that's hard to accept, because it means we're not just victims. It means something in our life. Something we neglected. Something we welcomed. Something we justified. Open the door. It could have been the sin you thought you could handle, the grudge you held until it poisoned your heart, or the obsession with someone you weren't meant to chase. Sihr doesn't just target your body, it targets your weak points. And if you've been building a life without spiritual protection, the shield was never there. You don't have to be a bad person to attract this. You just have to be unguarded. That's why this first truth matters. Sihr needs an open wound to enter. The more we ignore the cracks in our lifestyle, the easier it is for someone's hatred or envy to slip through. So before we talk about Ruqyah water in Surah Al-Baqarah, we need to talk about the life you've built. Because Sihr may be cast with words, but it lands because your soul was wide open. Truth number 2. Your house might be helping them. Sometimes it's not just what's inside you. It's where you live. You come home after a long day, and the air feels heavier than outside. There's tension that no one spoke, a strange smell in a corner, and that one room no one really uses, always colder, always darker. You tell yourself, it's nothing. But be honest, how much do you really know about what your home is letting in? Here's what most people ignore. Your house has spiritual rules, and angels don't enter every home. The Prophet said, "The angels do not enter a house in which there is a dog or images." Let that sink in. That means the very beings Allah sends to protect you might be blocked because of a decoration, because of constant background music, because of images hanging on the wall you forgot about, or a video with a dog barking on a playlist that's been running for hours. If angels won't enter, something else will. Jinn don't need VIP access. They don't need blood rituals in the basement. Most of the time, they just wait for you to get careless, to skip cleaning, to play that song again just for the chorus, to watch that show again even though you know it turns your heart cold. Your home isn't just where you live. It's where your soul rests, where your du'a rises, where your children sleep. So what are you letting inside? Even simple things. Mirrors facing your bed, random antique gifts from strangers, that dusty corner you never touch. These aren't superstitions. They're signs you're not paying attention. It's not about living paranoid. It's about being aware. Because some of you are doing Ruqyah every night, but still binge haram shows every evening. You can't burn incense to chase jinn away if you're inviting them back through your screen. Sihr doesn't just need black magic. It thrives on spiritual negligence. So before you wonder who cursed you, ask yourself, did your home already open the door? Truth number 3. Sihr hates people who pray Fajr on time. Let's be real. If you've been sleeping through Fajr for weeks, if your alarm rings and you hit snooze like it's nothing, if you wake up every day with that strange heaviness in your chest, like you lost before the day even started, maybe you're not cursed. Maybe you're just wide open. Sihr doesn't need to overpower you. It just needs you to stop protecting yourself. The Prophet said, whoever prays Fajr is under Allah's protection. Not your amulet, not your YouTube Ruqyah playlist, not your positive mindset, under Allah's shield. But here's the question. If you're not waking up for Fajr, whose protection are you really under? Some people say, I can't wake up because I'm tired. But deep down, you know it's not just tiredness. You feel spiritually numb, like something's feeding on your willpower, pulling you into this fog where life feels dull, cursed, pointless. Maybe that's not just depression. Maybe that's strategy. Because Shaitan knows, if you wake up for Fajr, the game changes. That one prayer flips everything. It's like announcing to the unseen world, I don't belong to you anymore. Sihr is patient. It doesn't destroy you in one blow. It kills you slowly. One missed prayer, then another, until your entire routine collapses. And once you stop showing up for Allah, you're an open target. So here's the real question. When was the last time you set your alarm, not for work, not for school, but just to meet Allah before sunrise? You keep saying, I think someone did Sihr on me. But what if the truth is, you left your sword in the closet? Ruqyah is powerful. The Qur'an is unmatched. But Fajr is proof. It's the battlefield where those who want freedom rise while the world sleeps. The ones who don't, they stay shackled, not by black magic, but by a blanket, a phone, and a soul that gave up. So if you want to block what's haunting you, start where warriors start. Wake up before the enemy does. Number 4. Witchcraft cannot overpower the Qur'an, but you can neglect it. I think many of you right now are not just afraid, you're exhausted. You're worn out from Ruqyah videos that didn't bring relief. You're tired of sleeping with Qur'an recitations playing, yet waking up still afraid. You're tired of feeling like something unseen keeps winning while you drag yourself through each day like a shadow. And that's the most dangerous part of Sihr. It doesn't always strike with fear. Sometimes it drains you so deeply that you stop believing anything can work. Here's the unfiltered truth. Sihr can't override the Qur'an, but you can by neglecting it. The problem isn't that the book has lost its power, it's that it stays closed. Surah Al-Baqarah by itself is enough to break any Sihr. but only if it's recited in a home where faith still breathes, where life is lived by its guidance, not just played on speakers like background noise. The Prophet said, "Do not turn your homes into graves. Indeed, Shaitan flees from a house in which Surah Al-Baqarah is recited." So ask yourself this: when was the last time your home truly echoed with the Qur'an? Not through a playlist, but from your own voice? When was the last time you opened the Mushaf, not searching for a Ruqyah cure, but just to listen with your heart? You keep saying, "I think someone did something to me." But you've forgotten something bigger. Allah already gave you what destroys it. The truth is, the Qur'an doesn't work like magic. It's not a spell book. It's a mirror. And a mirror only reflects the truth when you look at it honestly. Sihr begins to break when you rebuild your spiritual rhythm, not just by hearing Qur'an, but by living like someone who trusts in it again. Start small. One verse. Not an endless playlist, not hours of recitation, just one verse. Read slowly, with sincerity, not laziness. And let the tears fall if they come. You may not feel an earthquake. You may not see a sudden miracle. But you'll sense something quiet, a soul slowly waking up. Because Shaitan's greatest fear isn't your loudest scream. It's your steady persistence. If he can't silence you, he'll try to convince you that the Qur'an isn't working. But the only time it truly stops working is when you stop treating it like it's alive. Number 5. You're speaking curses without realizing it. Sometimes the spell wasn't cast on you. You cast it on yourself. And I know that sounds dramatic. You didn't light candles. You didn't perform rituals. You weren't searching for trouble. But pause for a moment. Think about how you speak about your life, your luck, your pain. How many times have you muttered, "Nothing good ever happens to me. I think I'm cursed. Maybe this is just how it will always be." You said it in frustration, in exhaustion, maybe even as a joke. But those words, they open doors. The Prophet warned, "Do not curse yourselves. Do not curse your children, and do not curse your possessions, lest it coincides with an hour when Allah grants what you ask." Now imagine this. You keep saying things like, "I'll never heal. I'm doomed forever." While the unseen gates are wide open, you think Sihr always needs a dark sorcerer? Sometimes all it takes is your despair, echoing until it hardens into belief. And Shaitan, he's patient. He doesn't push you straight into disbelief. He just needs you to repeat sadness until it becomes identity. Once you believe you're cursed, you stop defending yourself. You stop praying like it matters. You stop reciting Qur'an with conviction because what's the point? That's the real spell. A silent surrender disguised as honesty. Don't get it twisted. Vulnerability is not a sin. But hopelessness? That's the trap. Allah already said in Surah Yusuf 12:87, "None despairs of relief from Allah except the disbelieving people." That's the shift, the unseen door you didn't know was open. It wasn't your mirror. It wasn't someone else's envy. It was your own tongue cursing your life day after day. So if you truly want protection from Sihr, start here. Stop cursing your own name. Stop joking about being broken. Stop using your mouth as a weapon against your heart. Your tongue was created for words like these. Ya Allah, I trust you, even in this pain. I don't understand why this is happening, but I know you never left me. Guide me back to what protects me, even if I've forgotten what that is. That's anti-Sihr. That's light in a house of darkness. That's what makes the air in your space unbreathable for Jinn. Because the moment your words sound like du'a, your entire presence becomes a shield. It's easy to think this is all your fault. That if you just had more iman, more tawakkul, more ruqyah knowledge, none of this would have touched you. But that's not how divine protection works. Even the Prophet, the most protected man on earth, was afflicted by Sihr, not because he lacked faith, but because his mission included exposing its reality. So what about you? Maybe what you're going through isn't punishment. Maybe it's permission. Permission from Allah to wake up, to stop living in spiritual autopilot, to close the cracks that left your soul exposed. You were taught to brush your teeth before bed. Were you ever taught to brush your soul? To purify your room spiritually? To stop leaving your phone open like a portal? To stop watching content that corrodes your shield from within? You want to be untouchable? Then live like protection matters. The Prophet said, "Whoever recites the last 2 verses of Surah Al-Baqarah at night, they will suffice him." Not just help him sleep, not just calm his stress. They will suffice him spiritually, emotionally, psychologically. But only if your lips move with a heart that's present. Protection is a lifestyle. And if Sihr is real, your response must be just as real. And here's the most empowering truth of all. If the entire nation were to gather to benefit you, they would not benefit you except with what Allah has already written for you. Which means, if you're still breathing, you still have access to divine protection, unmatched, unbreakable. Not from a peer, not from a spiritual healer, but from the one who sees what no Ruqyah video ever could. So tonight, before you scroll, before you sleep, whisper this: Ya Allah, if there is something around me that I don't understand, protect me anyway. If there is a weakness in me that I've ignored, guide me to seal it. And if I've ever invited harm with my own actions, don't let me suffer alone. That's not just a du'a. That's the moment the veil begins to close, the doors start to lock, and the forces that once felt powerful start losing their grip. If these words open something inside you, leave this du'a for yourself, or for someone silently battling the same darkness. Ya Allah, protect me from what I cannot see. Sometimes your words might be the only protection someone else receives. If you're tired of wandering in a spiritual fog, stay close. This isn't about hype, it's about healing. And if you're serious about building strength from the inside out, like, share, and subscribe. This battle isn't over, but now you're not walking into it blind. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.